What's up, Indiana? Welcome to Indy Sports Nation Valentine's Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Indiana men's hoops gets their biggest win of the season. The Pacers are fourth in the East, heading to the All-Star break. And we got some news from the IndyCar Series and the Indiana Fever. Lots to do. Thanks for joining. Saddle up. Indy Sports Nation, let's go. Good afternoon. And welcome in, everyone, whether you're watching live or on the replay. Thank you so much for joining. I am your host, Big Mike, coming to you live as I do each and every week, most weeks. I'll have programming on that note on that later. But from the great city of Indianapolis, I hope your week has been as good as mine. Scratch that. I hope yours has been better. I know some of us are coming off a little bit of a downer. We had the Super Bowl last weekend and the official end of the football season. So some of us are a little bit down, a little bummed out. But hey, you know what? Not here in Indiana, man. We've got so much to talk about still. And that's what we will continue to do each and every week. As I mentioned in the intro, the Indiana Hoosiers got their biggest win of the season this past week at Michigan State. We'll chat about that. Pacers with an ugly win, but take it, I guess. Go to the All-Star break, get some time off now, and we'll touch on that, touch on the Pacers, kind of get the feels from everybody on how we're feeling about them. And as I mentioned, we got some college hoops to talk about as well, Purdue, Notre Dame, all of that. And we got some little bit IndyCar news this week and some few developments from the Indiana Fever. So a lot going on and a lot to discuss. But as you know, we got to give some love to our great sponsors. We need to hear from them because without them, we would not be here. Planet Jerky, Vital Apparel, Seal the Deal Wax Seals, Raw Nutrition. Thank them all so much. Go check out their stuff when you get a minute. It's all top-notch stuff. So on the other side, we'll dive into some IndyCar and some Fever, Indy Ignite news, and we'll go from there. So let's pay these bills and we will see you here on the other side. Thank you again for joining me here. Big Mike, Indy Sports Nation, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much once again for tuning in. Give a big shout out to our newest sponsor, Raw Nutrition Supplements. Go to their site, getrawnutrition.com. Use promo code IESR to get your 10% off. Appreciate you checking them out. Best supplements out there. While you're at it, be so kind to give me a follow at the show page at Indy Sports _IESR. Of course, the personal account at the Chill Mike. That is on the X Twitter platforms. Appreciate that. If you're watching live, feel free to hit me up in the comments. As always, sports related, keep PG, but we can have a little bit of fun with it at the same time, right? So appreciate all the support. Before we dive in, I just wanted to give a quick thank you to all of you who are watching, listening. The IE Sports Radio Network Super Bowl Sunday was fantastic. We had a great time, and for me, it was just fun to be able to do a show on Super Bowl Sunday. I really, really enjoyed it. So thanks to all of you who tuned in, live, replay, or whatnot. Thanks to all the great folks at IE Sports Radio. It was a great day for the network and for all of us, quite frankly. And of course, I'd be remiss to leave out my buddy Zach from the Blue Stable and my girl Heather from Bougie Sports for joining me on the Super Bowl Sunday show. So big thank you to them. Very, very much appreciated. On the comments here real quick. It's early, but Taryn always checking in like he always does. Appreciate you very much, kind sir. As I mentioned, Super Bowl's done, football's done, so we move on. So I thought today, what better way, or what better thing to start with, rather, because there was some news that broke this week regarding the IndyCar series. And for those of you who do not know, it is 100 days from today that the greatest spectacle in racing takes place here in the great city of Indianapolis. It is still the single day largest attended sporting event in the world. Y'all know what I'm talking about, is the Indy 500, 100 days from now. I cannot wait. Yours truly will be there like I am most years. Just cannot wait. But Doug Bowles, who is the president of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, is now president of the IndyCar Series. That news came out yesterday, I believe. I like it. He's done some good things as president of IMS. As you, some of you may know, he oversaw. Granted, I know what his money, but it's Penske money. I get it, but oversaw a lot of these new updates and renovations at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Some would say there's still some work left to do, and that's fair. That's fine. I'll give you that. But the improvements there are very, very noticed and very, very much appreciated from the vast majority of the fans who spend a fair amount of time out there, like yours truly. So I am excited for this series. And we'll get into it a little bit more in depth. If not next week, definitely the week after. Their first race is March 2nd in St. Pete. So definitely want to get more of break it down a little bit, dive in a little deeper for a season preview here. But I'm excited for what he can do. See if he can get this series to take the next step. I think the outgoing president, Mr. Fry, for example, the new Fox TV deal, I think could be a good thing for the IndyCar series. I really, really do. You're going to have every race on the Fox network. You're going to have qualifications, if not all of them, but most of them on FS1. You have some practices on FS2. I know that's not as visible to some, but this is going to be a lot more exposure for the product, I think. I hope. So I'm really excited for the series, and congratulations to Doug Bowles. I think that was a good move for the series. And just one driver note, real quick. There's one opening. Feel like it's been there forever. So Renus VK will be driving for Dale Coyne this year. That's not a surprise. VK's just too talented of a dude to not have a ride. We could argue there's some guys out there who maybe shouldn't, but they got the money. So this didn't really come as a big surprise, but he's always he's put on some burners, especially during qualifications at the track and for the 500. Fortunate to have him win his way come race day, but he's young, so we'll see where that takes him. But I thought that was worth worth sharing with you all. I mean, I can't believe we're 100 days away. That just gets me amped because springtime and we're outside, better weather, racing, everything. So moving on from IndyCar, we got some more fever news came out this week. Katie Lou Samuelson, who was a one-time starter last year, forward, has her and the fever have mutually agreed to part ways after a year. And again, we kind of talked about this last week too, right? With the fever, with Grace Berger, and a few others who just are probably not going to be seeing the court a whole lot with all these new free agents, trades, and of course the core who are still here. For me, it's one of those things that, hey, you know what? It might be better for you personally. So best of luck to her. I mean, I do like her. But again, there's some areas of improvement that I think they've addressed, or at least on paper they've addressed. And unfortunately, it kind of probably leaves her from the outside looking in. So hopefully she can get on with the team and improve her game and keep improving her game, I should say, on the court. And Erica Wheeler signs a deal with the Seattle Storm. Again, not a surprise. Again, this team is, with all the signs with Cunningham and Bonner and Howard, and you get Sophie in the trade. I mean, it's just so much happening here. And obviously you're keeping Lexi, you're keeping obviously Kate and Aaliyah. And so there's only be so much room here. So, best of luck to both of those ladies. However, I wanted to address a few things. There's obviously a lot of interviews and a lot of talk going on this week. There was a lecture done at Purdue last night, I believe it was, with Stephanie White, head coach of the Fever. And she had this quote, and I wanted to share it with you just because it's something I think we can all kind of relate to, if you will. And talking about, the culture shift, if you will, of the Indiana Fever. And now some will say, well, what do you mean a culture shift? I think it's fair to say there was a few, although they had a lot of pressure last year with all the cameras and all the attention and all the blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm talking about. And I thought overall they did a pretty good job. But, it's been reported numerous sources, numerous times that there were a few that, maybe were not the quote unquote best team players inside the building. But Stephanie White had this to say, and I think it's just kind of brings it all home, right? She says the following: for me, as a human being, if you're leaving your shopping cart out in the middle of the parking lot, I'm judging you. I mean, we've all seen that, right? We've all seen that person leave it in the freaking middle of the parking lot. You literally just want to get out of your car and smack them upside the head. Anyway, I digress. You're not going to be on my team. If I'm watching you and you're at the end of the bench with bad body language and not being a good teammate, I do not want you on my team. End quote. Simple. Very simple, but meaningful in my eyes. I mean, you could just kind of tell. And, I wish some of you who maybe saw it could probably see the demeanor on her face at the same time. So, again, as fans, this gets us ramped up, right? Like, all right, we got these signees coming in. They all come here, want to win championships. Lexi Hall made the comment, what's the goal? WNBA championship, right? Caitlin Clark made a comment this week too, like, this is the franchise of women's sports, not just basketball, but sports. Some took that the wrong way. How can you say that? You guys haven't done anything yet. She can pretty much say whatever she wants. She's the one look at how the game took off last year. Look at the ratings. Look at the crowds that she was bringing in. I mean, she is, was the analogy I think they use on ESPN. She's not moving the needle. She is the needle. What's the other analogy you could use? She's not setting the bar. She is the bar. So, Stephanie White, nice thing, crazy things, not crazy, I should say, really nice things to say regarding Caitlin about, comparing her to Tamika Catchings, coming with the work ethic and everything else, and how Tamika was one of the hardest workers out there. I mean, again, us fans, we're loving this. May can't get her quick enough because we'll have the Fever kicking off, tipping off. Should have the Pacers in the playoffs. We'll talk about them here shortly. And you got the month of May at the Speedway. So I'm telling everybody, come here to Indianapolis in the month of May. You will not regret it at all. I promise you. Emma chiming in. Yeah, I'm judging too. Yeah, so I think we all judge. We see an idiot, leave the grocery cart in the middle of the parking lot. Just what? Come on. What are we doing, people? So now let's do a quick jump here to the Indy Ignite. Stay with the women, for example. Here, good bounce back win last night, defeating San Diego 4 sets, 25-21, 25-14, 15-25, 25-15. Taylor 16 kills, 4 blocks. Kojic 16 kills. Sydney Hilly 47 assists. Nice way to get back in the win column after taking an L to San Diego earlier in the season. The Ignite are back in action Sunday night. They will be in Atlanta, the first matchup of the season with Atlanta, and I believe that's on CBS Sports Network. If you've not checked the Ignite out or any of these girls from Professional Volleyball Federation, I highly recommend you do so. I know our boy Taryn, who's already checked in to Set Point, talks about on his show Set Point rather, talks about it quite extensively. So, and on that note, the Volleyball Federation All-Star Game is actually here in the Fishers Event Center for you out of market folks. That is a northeast suburb of Indianapolis. We got 3 ladies from the Indy Ignite they'll be representing. So Sydney Hilly, who I just mentioned, who's just an assist machine. Taylor, who I just mentioned, having a great game the other night. And Member Mena, who's been, from an outside hitter standpoint, she's been top-notch. So exciting things here as well. Forgot to mention, as part of the All-Star weekend, if you will, Jalen Rose will be an MC for the event as well. So former Indiana Pacer. And I believe his daughter's very, very invested into the game at this point right now too. But what I love about this is it's fun. There's hardly any downtime when you're watching these games, and now you're finding them on TV. This is something that you wouldn't see 10 years ago. So one of the fastest growing sports. We're going to keep covering it because it's gotten a following, and these games at the Fishers Event Center are selling out pretty much every night. If they're not, it's very, very close. So I still haven't been able to get a chance to get out there yet. My full-time job is not being too nice in that regard right now, but I do plan to get out there very, very soon. Emma checking back in how she loves the Indy 500. Yeah, I can't wait as we progress closer to May. We'll start talking more about it. Obviously, I'm telling you, if you've never been, even if you're not the biggest race fan, I mentioned single largest day sporting event in the world. You got over 325,000 people there to watch the greatest spectacle in racing. It is. You don't have to be the race fan just to take it in. Just take in the sights, the sounds, the pageantry, all of it. I can't wait. But like I said, we'll talk more about that as we get closer. But with that being said, we need to get into our first break. And on the other side, we'll dive into some Pacers talk. There's some good things and a few concerns, I think. So we'll dive into that on the other side. Thanks for tuning in with your boy Big Mike, Indy Sports Nation. We'll be right back.
How we doing, sports fans? This is Christian Harvey, your host of Gritsville, USA, your go-to show for all things Detroit and Michigan here on IE Sports Radio. Whether you're here for Gritty Lions talk, getting pumped up for the great Detroit sports renaissance, or hating on your neighbor depending on if they were green or blue, we got you covered. Whether you're in the East, West, or Central, we got you covered. Join me as we tackle through all that the great state of Michigan has to offer in the world of sports. Catch me, Christian Harvey, each week on Gritsville, USA, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What does he want on the head?
Hey, yo, what's good, Georgia? It's your boy ACS, and if you love sports from the Peach State as much as I do, then Georgia Sports Central is your one-stop destination for down south sports, courtesy of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you a yellow jacket at heart, or do you bleed the red and black of the Bulldogs? Do you keep it true to Atlanta with Trae Young, Capella, and the boys? Do you rise up with the Dirty Birds on Sundays? Are you excited to see what the future holds for Michael Penix Jr., Bijan, and the rest of the Falcon squad? Do you live at 755 Battery Avenue? Do you rep for Albies, Acuna, and the rest of Braves country? If so, then let's get united every Wednesday for some Braves, Hawks, UGA, Georgia Tech, Atlanta Dream, Falcons, and more on Georgia Sports Central, only on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. One thing I forgot to mention, something we could do it's a little bit fun if you wish. If you're watching live, you hit me up in the comments, or if you're watching the replay, feel free to comment on the socials. It is Valentine's Day after all. I don't. So for those of you who partake, hope you enjoy your day. But if you want to share your favorite, I don't know, maybe we'll say sports power couples. I can hear Skeens and Dunn already being screamed out by the masses, I think. But no, if there's any of those you want to share, feel free to hit me up in the comments as well. Those are always kind of fun, I suppose. Again, I personally am not the biggest Valentine's guy, but that's all right. That's all right. I respect the ones who are, and I hope you all are enjoying it. So with that said, let's talk some Pacers. I don't know how many of you watched the Pacers-Wizards game. I unfortunately watched a good chunk of it, and my eyes still hurt from it. The Wizards are the Wizards this year. It's not, obviously, they're not a good team. It's, in our group chat, we joke about them quite often. But an overtime win, against the Wizards, and you could probably thank, I should say, Jordan Poole for it. And here's why I say that. People are like, what are you talking about, Mike? He scored 42 points. Yeah, he did. He put up 42 against the Pacers. Went 15 to 29 from the field, but he wouldn't stop. He just wouldn't stop. It was just him, basically, like, trying to do 1v5 and, kind of caught up to him. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I think you get my point. But an ugly night. I mean, yes, you take the win. I understand it. But the starters just, wow. Thank you, bench. Thank you, Obi. Thank you, Mathurin. And that's a topic we'll try to touch on here too when it comes to Benedict Mathurin. Obi comes up with 31 points, shoots 11 of 19 from the field, 6 of 11 from three. Mind you, we were just talking that he may be a casualty at the deadline because of contract reasons, because a lot of us here think they're going to re-sign Miles Turner and they're going to need the money to do it, and Obi could be a casualty. Ever since, and Obi's been like, all right, I'll show you what I got, and he's been playing pretty well as of late. Mather comes in 11 of 19 from the field, 28 points, and here I am saying he's coming in. Mind you, he was starting earlier due to the Neesmith injury, and now that Neesmith is back, I understand. Coach Carlisle wanting to get him back into the rotation and whatnot and get him some starts. But, outside of his maybe first or second game back, I can't remember which it was, where, he was okay. And I know the whole spiel is like, well, it's a matchup defensively, yada, yada, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, Mathurin is, I'm not sure. I mean, we saw this last year too, right? Not to the degree, but if you recall last year, we were all of us were screaming, yelling, like, why are you not playing this guy? And to a point last year, I kind of understood it. Again, to a point. You would see himself doing some ISO ball, and ISO ball was not the idea at the time or even the way to go. I think more so as a defensive thing. And to me, he's grown out of that now. He's done much better. Yes, you could argue sometimes that he's done some ISO ball when he shouldn't. But I tell you what, there's been times they've needed to do it because they needed a spark. And he's a guy that can go get you a bucket. But now he's back to the bench. And granted, I mean, he's playing well. He seems to have learned some of these lessons that were being taught to him last year. And yet he just goes out and he's been balling out a good chunk of the season. And we go back to the bench. And again, and I would say he bails him out. I mean, Obi as well. It's frustrating, and I can understand why they're frustrated, why the fans are frustrated. Again, got the win, but it is kind of a head scratcher as to why Colorado's kind of going down that road. Now, obviously, it's All-Star break, right? So now we've got time to kind of reset, reassess, if you will. Currently fourth in the East, as I mentioned, 30-23, which is right at where they were last year. But I do have a little bit of concerns here. And as much as I've said, big fan of Thomas Bryant acquisition. That's been great. I mean, he threw in 9 in 27 minutes the other night. I guess probably where I would start is, and Siakam had a rough night the other night as well, but I'm not really concerned about him. He's been steady. He's been rocked this pretty much this whole season. That's why he's an all-star. I'm a little concerned about, again, I should say, it's in the first time this year about Tyrese, and here's why I'm a little concerned about Halliburton. Granted, he's 20-7 the other night, but here's my worry. It's to the point now where, and please, if you're listening to this and you want to comment, I'd love to hear you. To the point where defenses are having, I think, too easy of a time taking him out of the game. He just kind of goes missy. He kind of goes quiet. And I hear this. I've had a few discussions with some friends about this too, and they're like, well, it's not always that. I mean, there's way the team's playing defense on him, and they're switching this and giving him this look and that look. And yeah, okay. They do that with other superstars too. And these other superstars still find ways. Yeah, sure, there'll be a game here and there. Doesn't work out for them off shooting night. Cool, that happens. It seems to be happening more than it should with a super max guy like Tyrese Halliburton. Now, in fairness, and not just him, maybe the rest of this team too, maybe this break came at the right time because, mind you, they had the games in Paris. They come back, they go on a West Coast swing. I'm hopeful that they're tired. And maybe this week coming up, we'll do this some real good, TBD. But I'm hoping this next week is a take care of your body, recharge, come back at it, because let me tell you something, when they do get back at it, the schedule's not coming out of the gate is not too friendly. But before I do get into that, there was one other thing I do want to mention. I think it's more on a positive note, I think, if you're a Pacers fan. But this is funny to me because, as we know, Miles Turner's been out. Unfortunately, some friendly fire from one Benedict Mathurin, and therefore Miles Turner went into concussion protocol. Not playing the Lakers game, was not in the obviously left that and then missed the Knicks game and the Wizards game. Did y'all see what the Knicks were doing? I'm just saying, there's been people in this town for a long time who's been like, Miles, you should let him go. He's not that good. He should be getting more blocks, should be doing this. And yes, no, I've been critical of him on rebounding. Yeah, I've been, but what he can bring offensively, how he can bring a big man out. He can obviously shoot from deep. He could be an enforcer around the rim, get some key blocks. Boy, the Knicks had no issue going down low, basically scoring from basically under the rim. Where in games like that, you'd have a Miles Turner swatting those away. It's funny. It's one of those, it's an old saying, right? You don't know what you got till it's gone. And you miss, he's out for a few games, and it was especially evident in that next game. He was really, really missed, in my opinion. So, for those who have been wanting to ship him out of town in the past years, which I think that most of that talk has kind of simmered, to be fair. But I know Exhibit A and B, ladies and gentlemen, I guess that would be all I have to say about that. So regarding Miles, but quick comments real quick here. My boy Ralph from Yenza Report checking in. Good afternoon. Have a great show, big guy. I appreciate you, my brother. He'll be going on live here about 8 o'clock, talking all things Pittsburgh. Oh, the Arizona gang checking in. Appreciate the support very, very much. So I mentioned the schedule coming forth for the Pacers. Again, you're getting a week off for the All-Star break. Well, guess what? And I can hear it already. Well, Mike, they're home. They're at home. They'll be fine. Yeah, well, we thought they'd beat the Knicks at home too, and that didn't quite work out, did it? So right back, Memphis Grizzlies coming into town. So Zach Edey with a little homecoming. So I'm sure the Purdue faithful will show out, and most of who I know will be pulling for him to score about 40 points, and the Pacers to win by 10. well, we'll see how that shakes out. But then you got the Clippers. Again, these are all at home, so that's helpful. But Grizzlies come in next Thursday, followed by the Clippers on Sunday, and then a back-to-back because you got the Denver Nuggets coming in on Monday. So, and then after that you got the Raptors. So, and Raptors have been kryptonite for the Pacers this year for whatever reason. It's just pretty inexplicable. So, but right out of the gate, those 3 games, those are not gimmies by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, Memphis is playing really good basketball this year. Some would say the Clippers are kind of right there with the Pacers, and the Nuggets are the Nuggets. So, scheduling folks were not super friendly coming out of the All-Star break for the Pacers, but that's just part of it. So, I just hope they rest up, and we don't see any, at least not a whole lot of disappearing acts from your Supermax guy. And I'm really interested to see what Coach Carlisle does coming back from this. And is he going to just kind of stick with the whole Neesmith thing, or is he going to change this up a bit? I'm really, really interested to see this. So, but a couple other quick topics I wanted to hit before we go to our last break. Got to give a little bit of love to Notre Dame. I don't know if anybody who saw this or not, but the women. Well, first off, Marcus Burton for the Irish, man. It's been good to have him back, even though they're still, the record's not outstanding, up to 11-13 now after a 2 overtime win over BC. But Burton drops a career high 32. And they got Louisville coming in on Sunday, which will not be an easy task for the men. But I told Irish fans from the get-go, you're about a year away, and assuming you keep him around, which I think with Shrewsbury, I think you will. I think that'll be the case. And the class they have coming in next year, this could be they could be building something here. Again, I know the record is indicative of that, but just as a few games I've been watching, they're playing better. I'll just give them that, but. I wanted to touch on the ladies real quick too, because that was a beatdown of Pitt, 88-57. They're continuing to roll 22-2 on the season. But what I loved about this game was Hidalgo probably had one of the worst nights of her life, and I'm being a little facetious there, probably not really, but you know what I mean. I mean, she's been automatic all year long, and she is on a whole other level. But I wanted to share this stat because I thought it was pretty interesting. She was only 3 of 17. 11 points in 31 minutes, and they still won. They still dominated. A 31-point win. I know Pitt's not strong. I get that. But that's a nice thing, because if Hidalgo's having a night or off night, which she usually doesn't, but she did that night, Miles was right there to step up, putting in 28, shooting 10 of 16 from the field, 8 of 13 from 3. Citron chimes in with another 22. So he still had 4 in double figures, and King came in with 11 points as well. But that's what's so great about this team and this backcourt, because they're just playing off each other, and one's having an off night, the other steps up. And I've said it a gazillion times. This is a fun team to watch, and should be a Final Four team. However, they do have a little bit of a challenge coming up here Monday night, as they host number 13 Duke. I still think that's a game they get, but the schedule does toughen up a little bit. They'll go to Miami, which I think they'll handle. Going to NC State, that should be a challenge. NC State's a pretty solid squad this year at 20-4, ranked number 10. And then they'll come back to host Florida State, which I think they handle as well. So what's crazy is here we are in the middle of February. It's Valentine's Day, as we discussed, and we're a month away from the brackets, man. It's creeping up on us quick, on us so fast. So quick note, just before we take our last break again, Butler does pick up a win against Providence. That was actually a pretty fun game. Unfortunately, I couldn't get to that one, but 82-81. And it's been, as I've said it a gazillion times, it's been a tough year for Butler. I'm just hoping they got some winnable games coming up. Got Georgetown coming into town in the Hinkle this weekend. Telford continues to kind of do his thing. Had 24 of 9 of 17 shooting the other night. The games they got coming are winnable. Now, granted, they're not. I mean, at this point, I just want to see them get around 500, and they've had good, strong finish to the season based off some of the ranking of the recruiting class coming in. But yeah, hosting Georgetown Saturday, going to Xavier on Tuesday, then to DePaul on Saturday before they come back to host St. John's, which that'll be a tough one. Kudos to St. John's this year, man. It's good. It's a one heck of a story coming out of there. But yeah, you're kind of hoping Butler can maybe somehow get at least 2 of these, maybe sneak a third. At this point, you're just hoping to play for something, salvage a season that hasn't just really just hasn't went your way. So on that note, let's get our last break in. I want to save the last part of the show for Purdue and IU, talk some Big Ten hoops and what a wild, wacky season it has been. So let's take one last break, and we'll get to that on the other side. Big Mike here, Indy Sports Nation. We'll be right back.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph Calise, the host of the Indy Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate, diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Indy Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports. And I will update you on all that's black and gold, have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph Calise, the Indy Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
Hello, everyone. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr., and I'm welcoming you to take another lap with the fastest show on IE Sports Radio. Yes, this is the Extra Mile with me and my co-hosts Christopher Lehman and Michael Ward. We talk everything racing from NASCAR to IndyCar to Formula One to limited hydroplanes, endurance racing, the NHRA, and more. So come join us for an hour of great racing talk and a lot of fun as well on the Extra Mile, Thursdays at 8 p.m. only on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much once again for tuning in, whether it is live or on the replay. I can't appreciate y'all enough. One last couple bits of business before we dive into some college hoops here. Check out the site. Go get yourself some swag. Just go do it. Comfortable shirt, and give us some love, and it helps. All these proceeds go to just supporting the network. So appreciate you doing that. And once again, hit me up on the socials, the at IndySports_IESR. That's the show page. At the Chill Mike, the personal page. You may have noticed on the show page, I've been putting up the Spreaker link. Trying to really gain some supporters there. I've gotten a few. Hope to get a few more. So if you're able to, go check that out. Again, it's if you're able. I know it's kind of crazy out. This is a crazy world we live in, but $5 and again, everything goes towards the network and improving the shows and improving all the content, you name it. So so appreciate you all very, very much for that. So let's dive in to some Big Ten hoops here, if you will. And let's talk the Boilers. That was not fun the other night. And I've got some legit concerns about this team right now. And I know that I'm probably going to hear it. How can you have concerns about this team? They're in second place. They're only a half game out. They've split with Michigan. Yeah, you're all that's fair. And also, this was supposed to be a down year, and especially losing Jacobson, they have to go play small ball now, and this, that, and yeah, I understand that. And look, I said at the beginning of the year, I did not think Purdue was going to win the Big Ten this year. I just, they're not hitting a reset button. I would say it's more, different analogy here. It's not a rebuild, if you will. It's more like a small remodel, if you will. And I guess here's where I'll get to the point. Here's where I'm worried. Where's the bench, for one? I mean, you look at it from Michigan game the other night. I'm looking at the stat line right now. Yeah, 0 points. That's not going to do it. And here's my other problem with this team. And much as I cheer for this team, as most of you know, it can't be two guys. It just can't. I mean, it's not. Braden Smith and Kaufman Rent's been pretty much those two all season. They've been your rocks. They've been your staples, if you will. And as I said, like we previewed this team, a few months back. It's like I gotta see more consistent play from Fletcher Lawyer. Are we seeing it? The answer is no. I mean, he had 15 the other night. Made a couple threes. Okay. So here's the output real quick, just from the starters. You had Kaufman ran with 22 points, First with 5. Although he first been doing better on the board. So first isn't the scorer guy, but he's doing better on the board. So give him his due. CJ Cox 7. Now he's going to be good. He's freshman. He's a true freshman. He's going to be good. Okay, but Braden, of course, is 24 and 24 and 5, which you'd like to see a little bit more assists from him. But again, sometimes he has to be selfish. So what are you going to do? And then Lawyer with 15, and that was it. So it's been that all year for Purdue, and a lot of these games are playing 2 and 3 v5. It feels like at times. They've stepped it up defensively as of late. That's true, but they're lacking. They're lacking some production. I mean, Colvin got it for 9 minutes, did pretty much nothing. Heidi got it was in there for 17 minutes, got 1 rebound. I mean, there's no contribution there. And look, you lost by 2. A big conference game that could very well end up costing you a third straight Big Ten championship. Now, I know the expectations weren't there, but you're that close now. Why wouldn't you? It's like, hey, wait a minute, we can do this. And they still can. But that's where I'm worried about this squad a little bit, just because you got to get more consistent contribution from everybody else. It can't just be those two guys. And here's what happened in this game in particular. You look at it, Purdue was ahead most of this game. They would get ahead, 6, 7, 8 points, and you'd see Michigan chip away, but then Purdue would get it back. And it felt like there was a few times in the course of that game where Purdue missed some opportunities to maybe extend that to 12. As an example. Not to say that Michigan wouldn't have made a run. That's how basketball works. That's just what's going to happen. It's not like Michigan's a bad team. Michigan's got a solid team there. But the problem when you do things like that, you're not putting yourself in really the best position to win. Here's what I mean by that. Talk to Purdue fans about this game, and they're losing their mind over the officiating. For those who watched the game, Kaufman ran fouled out, first fouled out. Michigan makes free throws in the game to ice it, and they win. All right. And some will say those fouls were controversial. Let's use that term. And I went back and looked at a few of them. Yeah, I would say there probably were not great calls, and they did probably go. I've seen those calls definitely go the other direction. I'll put it that way. But don't put yourself in that position. And that's the issue. I said it the same thing. Just a few weeks ago, we had IU Purdue game, and IU looked like they're going to win that game. I think most of us were convinced that holy crap, IU is going to beat Purdue, and they let it get away from them at the end. And people were blaming the officials, and At first, yeah, it looked like it was maybe a missed call, but you see the replay? No, that really wasn't miscalled. Even if it was, don't turn the ball over 20 times. So you can't put yourself in the position when you have the opportunity to, you don't want to put yourself in that position to where a call one way or another from an official could really, really hurt you. They're human. They're going to make mistakes too. But to me, Purdue put themselves in that position, just like IU put themselves in that position when they played Purdue. Can't turn the ball over 20 times. When you're ahead 7 on the road, you got to get out there. You got to make shots. You got to have contribution off your bench. You can't just rely on Braden and Trey to do it all for you. So, my boy Charlie checking in. Calvin and Heidi was telling everyone to watch out for that. Well, Colvin and Heidi rather. Yeah, but I need more consistency, and I know they're young still, but I need more consistency. We got to give. I mean, and I say this. Look, I'm saying this from a standpoint of I'm not expecting Purdue to make a legit run at a Final Four. Was never the thing for them this year. My idea for them going in was top 5 in the Big Ten. Maybe get to a Sweet 16. And that, to me, and that's still obviously very, very doable. And that's a good season, but that's where my concerns comes in because they're just not getting, they're not getting a whole lot off the bench. Again, First has done better defensively, and the team they've done better defensively, but you still got to score. My boy Adam, who does our Chicago show in the neutral zone, whining about the refs is always a loser move. It usually is. It usually is. But it's like I say, man, you just can't, as a team, you cannot put yourself in those positions in games like that. And a call one way or another could, really, really hurt you. So, but on a more positive note, Purdue hosts number 16 Wisconsin. And on that positive note, I'll say this about Purdue. They almost always are really good at bouncing back after a loss. They've been that way for a long time. So is that a slam dunk they're going to win no, or Saturday? I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying usually a loss, these guys get really motivated after a loss. And coming back to Mackey, I like Purdue's chances here. Doesn't get easier for them after that. They're going to Michigan State. Now we saw them, and we'll talk about that in a minute because Indiana went in there and had an impressive win against Michigan State. So Michigan State is beatable, but we've also seen Michigan State play really well too. So that's going to be a dogfight. Purdue after that goes to Assembly Hall to have the rematch against Indiana, and that's a little worrisome for me because we saw the matchup there, and I think IU's got a matchup advantage on them. Now we'll see what they can Purdue get cleaned up for that, and then back home to UCLA. So, you look at the Big Ten standings right now. Purdue is second place, a half game out. They've played one more game than Michigan has. So, and Michigan and Michigan State play each other. So these teams are going to beat each other up the rest of the way. So who really knows who's going to come out of this? I mean, you've got conference wise, Michigan 11-2, Purdue 11-3, Michigan State 10-3, Wisconsin 9-4. I mean, none of these teams are out of it yet. So it'll make for an interesting, very, very exciting finish, I think. Charlie checking back in here. It's, they're predicted to be a 2 seed as of right now. Lenardi's got them as a 2. Now we'll see how this week goes. It's not going to be an easy week. Indiana gets some time off before they have to play Purdue. They're going to be motivated to play rivalry game, obviously. But yeah, this was supposed to be like a, I call it a remodel type of year. And here we are, Purdue doing Purdue things. So that leads me to tonight. IU and UCLA tip off here, 8:00. And great win for Indiana basketball this week, beating Michigan State. I don't think anybody had that on their card at all. I know I didn't. And I've had some, very friendly conversations. And when I say friendly, I mean, spirited, but, disagreements, if you will, but friendly over IU and the NCAA tournament. Because you look at their record, people see that record, and, they're like, well, wait a minute. Well, they got 15-ish wins here, and why wouldn't they make the tournament? Yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, well, who have they beat? I think they've got it listed as technically 3 quad 1 wins, but to me, that's probably a stretch, but doesn't matter. I mean, they beat, it was a nice win against Michigan State. That was their zone defense and really locked down Michigan State. Michigan State couldn't buy a basket. So, I mean, probably off shooting night for Michigan State, but you can also credit that to some solid defense played by IU. But where I was going with this is I don't think anybody thought Indiana was going to win that game in East Lansing. So now things get interesting for IU. So UCLA tonight, and it's basically a pick'em game when it comes to the spread, although the predictors have given a slight edge to UCLA. I want to see if Indiana can build a little bit of momentum on this. Because when you look at their schedule, they got UCLA tonight, as we mentioned. Then, Sunday the 23rd, so next, week from this Sunday, they host Purdue. Then they host Penn State, who they've beaten once already. And then they do their West Coast swing to Washington, which I think they can get that one. Oregon, not so sure about that one. And then back home to Ohio State. And Ohio State, you just never know what you're going to get with them. They're going to you'll either whoop them by 30 or they'll get hot and beat you by 10. Although IU did beat them earlier in the season. My point is, after this gauntlet that IU's went through, their schedule now kind of opens up and it becomes somewhat favorable. Now, to me, if they could get the win tonight, which, in typical IU fashion would probably say they won't, but let's just say they do, because they are playing better basketball. Let's just be honest about this here. They are definitely playing better basketball. I don't know if that's because of the whole Mike Woodson thing or not. We'll touch on that briefly, but they can get a win tonight, and they can get a win against Purdue. And I said it at the beginning of the season, I thought those two teams were going to split this year. And some would argue that Indiana should have won that game at Mackey, and maybe they should have. So there's all of a sudden you've racked up some quad 1 wins real quick. That gets you to 18 wins. If you can go out and, especially if you beat Oregon, for example, and you can close the season on a hot stretch, win a couple games in the tournament, all of a sudden this narrative changes. Because right now you got people like, Lenardi, for example, who's always been pretty on point for the most part. And for the first 8 out, IU's not even mentioned. They're like down the list. So, they're pretty much being written off. Like they're not going to make the tournament. And I felt the same way. I'm like, I don't think they're going to either. But all of a sudden you get a big win against Michigan State and you build momentum. You've already been playing better. But they have to start racking up some wins because those losses they've had early in the season just look so bad. So bad. So we'll see. We'll see what happens tonight. I do want to touch on a little bit the crazy rumor mill that's been going on here with the head coach of who will be the new coach, I guess, at Indiana University. And if you're looking at the socials or whatever, you're seeing all these burner accounts and putting up these fake reports that, there was a plane that we saw that went from Boston into the Indianapolis airport, and then there was an entourage of vehicles that were heading down I-69 to Bloomington. It must have been Brad Stevens. Or another one saying, I saw him at this restaurant that shut down like 10 years ago. Look, I'm not an insider. I'm the last thing from it. I'm going to tell you this right now. If Brad Stevens comes up being the head coach at Indiana University, I will be shocked. And I think the world would be shocked. I don't know why. And for those of you who don't know, he was offered the job before. Several years back, they offered him about $10 million a year, and he said no. By the way, he's now spearheading, the defending, world champion Boston Celtics, who are going to compete for it again this year. Gee, let me leave this gig and go back to college basketball where got to go recruit, and I'll never see my family. Yeah, sorry. Don't see that happening. Hate to burst your bubble. Ton of candidates out there, though. I know Dusty May's going to get called. He's in Michigan now. Don't know how that would work out contractually. Chris Beard's been mentioned, although from what I've been hearing as of late, I don't think there's certain people at IU that are big fans of him. So doesn't sound like he would probably be further down the list. So And I'll pose this question to you as we're getting close on time here, but and hit me up on the socials on this one, and we'll talk more about it next week. Is this Indiana job still have the appeal of yesteryear? I would say yes. I would say it does. Maybe for slightly different reasons, but yes, I would still say it does. It's going to be the most prestigious job out there when it comes to the offseason. I mean, it's going to be Indiana, who's going to be the coach. But I'll say this last bit there. It does feel like since the Mike Woodson news come out that Indiana's playing a little looser. Like, don't have a whole lot to lose here. Let's just go out and play basketball. And that could be a good thing. Like I said, they could run off some wins here, build off the win in East Lansing. You got something. So stay tuned for that. Again, as I mentioned, tip-off tonight, 8 o'clock versus UCLA. So before we go and to leave this little nugget for you, again, happy Valentine's Day to you and yours for those who celebrate. I hope you have a wonderful day or have had a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend with your significant other. But I want to make a quick programming note. As a lot of you know, I've mentioned it on the show before, my full-time gig has me on the road quite often, especially this time of year. So the next few weeks we'll be changing time slots. We did it over the holidays, worked out pretty well. So we're gonna give it a shot again, I suppose, or I guess you could say. So starting next week, I'll be live Wednesday. So we're gonna go Wednesday next week, 7 p.m. Eastern. So back in the prime time slot. Again, yours truly will be traveling, so I will be out of studio at a location I will share with you later. But let's just say this time of year, it's really popular for its parades. So leave that for you. And then I think the following week we'll probably go back to probably a primetime spot on Friday. And the week after is still TBD, but I'll put these up on the socials as well. So you'll send all my reminders out as I normally do. But next week we'll just start there. Indy Sports Nation will be live Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. Again, on location from a city that's known for parades this time of year. So wanted to let you all know that. Check the comments here one more time. My boy Adam checking in. Poaching inside the Big Ten, or do you think, or India will look elsewhere? I will say this: if they can get Dusty May, I think they will. If they can poach him away from Michigan, I think they do it. A lot of people wanted him here last year. It was Quinn Buckner's the president of the Board of Trustees at Indiana. Pretty much put the kibosh on that, said, nope, Woodson needs one more year. Because they gave Archie 4 years. He thought it was legit to give him 4 years. I see the logic there, I suppose. But a lot of people wanted May last year. Thought they should have paid Woodson's buyout. They got elected not to. So we'll see where they go. I don't know if Michigan lets them go. Dusty May is saying what coaches say when they get asked that question. I love it here. I love it here. What are they going to say, right? So I think from inside the Big Ten, he'd be the only guy. I think other than that, I think they're looking elsewhere outside of the Big Ten. That's just my take. But, we'll see. We'll see. We will see where they go. No doubt about it. But, hey, once again, thank you all so much for joining me tonight. Can't thank you all enough. Appreciate the live comments. For those of you watching the replay, thank you for making the time as well. Appreciate you all so very much. Signing off here, Big Mike from Indy Sports Nation right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Have a great weekend, everybody.